Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is episode 362 of the Ping Pong Flick Show. And I just want to thank all of you for tuning in, listening to my 2 cents every single day. I've got right now at this moment 10,940 subscribers. Crazy. Really crazy. And just for that, when I reach 11,000 subscribers, I've decided to give 2 cents for every subscriber, those 11,000 subscribers, to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. That's right. So 22,000 pennies are going to go to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention in honor of all of you 11,000 subscribers when I finally get to that point. So hopefully it'll be pretty soon. What a great big fan from here in Hawaii. KLE Blaisdell actually sent me this awesome Twitter banner and a new YouTube banner, and I'm going to put it on my channel. Thank you so much for that, KLE Blaisdell. This is so great, and I'm going to start sharing your work. He is over at Project 57 Hawaii on Twitter, so follow him. Check it out. He's a graphic designer, and he's got some really cool stuff going on his Twitter feed as well. Now, let's get into the DCEU. A little bit into the DCEU. The first one up is a giant rumor. This is a giant rumor, and some of you told me to cover it, and I'm going to try my best to give my 2 cents on this situation. These 2 articles that popped up today, one is called the DCEU will reportedly be referenced in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that's from We Got This Covered. Cosmic Book News also said exclusive. DCEU coming to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And you're going crazy. The headline is bonkers. You're like, what? How is this possible? But when you look at these 2 articles, We Got This Covered got the news from Cosmic Book News. What they're trying to say is they're trying to get it referenced in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, for those of you who don't know, Crisis on Infinite Earths is the next big crossover event with Arrowverse, The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of the Guardians over on the CW channel. Now, they've had crossovers before, and they've always hyped it up to be such a huge, big event. And for the most part, it is when you're a fan of all the shows. But it's nothing as big as you've seen in the movies. Nothing as big as, I don't know, Avengers, Endgame, or Infinity War, something like that. It is not that big because of the budget constraints, which is very much understandable. And with those budget constraints, it will find it very difficult for them to pay the royalties, to pay the actors and actresses that are in the DCEU to come onto the CW show. Those pays and salaries and residuals are much bigger than the ones that we have on TV. So I find it very difficult. Yet their insiders on Cosmic Book News is saying they're trying their best to try to get some of the DCEU people over onto the Crisis on Infinite Earths as cameos. But they're looking at more along the lines of footage, like you'd see Man of Steel footage, using Henry Cavill as Superman to be in one of the shows on the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I think that is more of a plausible reality, as seeing that they could actually already have footage. They don't need to grab Henry Cavill and put him in a suit and put him on the show and pay him all the money that he wants. I don't think that's possible, but getting footage that Warner Brothers has, that's a little bit more possible. Of course, there's also residuals by using that footage, because that property, every time those footage is shown, Henry Cavill and the people who made that film get some money as well. So there are also some expense by just using footage as well. So that sounds more likely. Is it going to happen? Possibly, maybe a few frames in the background or something when Flash is going through time or something like that. That's quite a possibility. We thought about all that before. But I think the most possibility is Tom Welling showing up rather than Henry Cavill. And I think that's a more possibility than that. But I'll be happy regardless if they are able to get some DCU footage on the show, or even probably more probable is Tom Welling suiting up as Superman, because you know what? He never got to do it the first time around on Smallville. He might as well suit up now, as is probably one of the last chances to get to be Superman once again. But that is that little tidbit on DCU reportedly being referenced on Crisis on Infinite Earths and my thoughts on that. Now, let's get into the DCEU. Let's talk about that. Director James Gunn confirms that Guardians 3 is happening, but that will come once he has finished with the Suicide Squad first, which is cool. I think I like that. I think that he's like sticking his guns, even though he got rehired back for Guardians 3. He says, you know what? I started this Suicide Squad and I'm going to finish it. I hope he works really hard on it, and I think he is. I believe the passion is there. Unlike other people like, I don't know, Taika Waititi, who left Akira once they said they were going to make another Thor movie. He just ran off, and Warner Bros. Totally scrambled and totally freaked out and like didn't even know what happened just happened there, which is very, I think, unprofessional, and I think it just left them hanging like that. And I'm happy that James Gunn doesn't seem to be doing that. Something that's kind of cool. It's nothing groundbreaking or anything, but I like what he said here. JMB 1902 on Twitter said this: if James Gunn responds to this, the Suicide Squad will save the DC franchise. In which James Gunn responded. He said at JMB 1902, I don't think it needs saving. And I think that's a cool thing for James Gunn to say, putting on this positive vibe for the DCEU, the positivity that is missing from the DCEU because of all the negativity that people just kind of crap on this little underdog of cinematic universes, if you will, although it's still going strong, yet silent. The next thing is in regards to New Gods. We haven't heard much about New Gods, and if you listened to my upcoming DCU movies video from last night, then I have a little tidbit on that regards to New Gods, but nothing much more than that. I know people are telling me that Grace Randolph believes on her videos that she believes New Gods is no longer going to be the case anymore. Nothing is happening with that, which I don't know if it's true or not. She does say a lot of things, and we have not yet come to find out if they are true or not, but she has some points in regards to there's nothing in production. Nothing is being talked about. Yet, Ava DuVernay and Tom King continue to hint about the movie, hint about working together. That was reported from before. Tom King won another Eisner Award, and Ava DuVernay congratulates, saying, "Congrats to you at Tom King TK. See you tomorrow." Tom King replied, "Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you. This is going to be so much fun," with posting a picture posting a picture of Big Barda, where it says, "Say, you didn't get here like by BoomTube, did you? Like from Apocalypse, perhaps?" Crack is very much just a teasing what they're going to work on, and which we all believe to be the New Gods script. Whether or not they're going to use any of the content, any of the designs, or any of the characters that Zack Snyder had made his own or not, we will have to see. We will also have to see if this movie is really, truly going to happen anytime soon. Speaking of gods, Nick McKinless, and we've talked about Nick McKinless before. He is that actor and stuntman who was used on Justice League to play Ares. Now, in Justice League, instead of being credited as Ares and being paid as Ares, he was paid as a stuntman instead. And so, like an earlier video, and I can link it right here, I did explain his situation where he is still fighting to get the residuals for his credit to be Ares. He posted this today as in support of the Release the Snyder Cut movement. This is probably another outburst that we really need from the cast and crew members to join us in this movement. And it looks like they're finally coming to light, Fabian Wagner style, if you know what I mean. Nick McKinless said, "These hashtag Release the Snyder Cut fans really want to see the real Ares in Justice League. Brilliant artwork from Tovik.art. 3 years on, still no credit, still no residuals. Sigh. That guy on the right deserves better, methinks. Hashtag Zack Snyder. Hashtag Nick McKinless. Hashtag Injustice League." I agree. This is a huge injustice, and I can't believe Warner Brothers is continuing to be silent on this case. For people who don't even believe in the Snyder Cut, you would have to believe in the work of an actor, right? You have to believe in the work of a workman who deserves every credit for working so hard at something, right? I mean, just look at yourselves. If you had worked on a project, you signed something, and you're contracted to be something, and you end up not getting that credit and not getting paid for that credit, would you be happy or would you not be happy? And I'm willing to bet you would not be happy about that, and you would fight to get credited. You would fight to get paid as well. And that's why we're supporting the Release the Snyder Cut. One of the many reasons why we're supporting the Release the Snyder Cut, which is still, by the way, getting tons of attention, a lot of attention. Today is another one from SyFy Wire. And this is a cool one because SyFy Wire actually reached out and got to interview some fans, the Nerd Queens, Will Rollins, the people of Project Comic-Con, in regards to the Project Comic-Con Snyder Cut campaign that happened at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm going to read you this article from SyFy Wire. Die-hard Zack Snyder fans bring the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut fight to San Diego Comic-Con. Standing amid the controlled chaos of San Diego Comic-Con, the two bloggers known by their collective online handle, the Nerd Queens, want to make one thing clear. We are not a political movement, one of the bloggers who goes by Nana Queen said. This is all about Zack, her broadcast partner Cole Queen added. This is all about artistic freedom. While doing this, it's also about raising awareness for suicide prevention. Throughout the convention, the duo were part of a push to further the Release the Snyder Cut campaign's reach from Twitter into physical space, as they and other fans renewed their efforts to convince Warner Brothers Pictures to release director Zack Snyder's original cut of Justice League, which was instead released after reshoots and post-production work by Joss Whedon. Whedon joined the project after Snyder stepped down in the aftermath of his daughter Autumn Snyder's death. Despite no Warner Brothers presence at the convention's Hall H this year, and thus none for the DC Extended Universe, the campaign generated attention as word spread that it had purchased both a billboard on Interstate 5 heading into San Diego, a 3-panel bus stop ad located a few streets away from the San Diego Convention Center, and for a sky banner reading Warner Brothers Release the Snyder Cut of Justice League to be flown near the building. The displays were paid for through an online fundraiser organized by another campaign member, Will Rollins. Both the Nerd Queens and Rollins, an actor by trade living in England, told us there is no leadership hierarchy for what they refer to as the movement, but the individual members have taken on specific tasks. "We're not a cult," Rollins said in a phone interview. "We are just people from around the world who believe in a common goal." Campaign members have also emphasized that half of the money raised through what they call the Project Comic-Con Drive will be donated to a charitable group, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Leading up to San Diego Comic-Con weekend, the campaign had reportedly donated more than $106,000 to the foundation. Rowland said the group would give the AFSP donations from Project Comic-Con shortly after the convention ends to give more people a chance to donate. The foundation did not respond to requests for comment on the campaign. For his part, Rowlands likened the Snyder Cut to the fan outcry that led to the show Lucifer to be picked up by Netflix for 2 seasons following its cancellation on network television. By comparison, he said asking GOT's, Game of Thrones creators, to redo its own final season was a bit unreasonable and a bit unfair to the people who worked so hard. Rowlands also told us that he felt Warner Brothers showed unprofessionalism in how it handled Justice League in the wake of Snyder's family tragedy. They used that as an excuse to get in without his resistance and try the film to try to change it and marvelize it. He said that is very deceitful, not to mention immoral. Neither DC Comics, which did have a presence at the convention, nor Warner Brothers responded to requests for comment. But the Snyder Cut has also seen instances of negative behavior by members. Roberto Mata, whose original petition calling for its release garnered almost 180,000 signatures, was drummed out after attacking what he called YouTubers and people critical of the idea. In another Change.org petition in response, Mata wrote that people are divided into groups that separates them into ignorant and rational agendas and beliefs like feminism, social justice warriors, Black Lives Matter, political correctness, religion, etc. In May 2019, another group of campaign members, including Fiona Jing, a Chinese woman credited with creating the ReleaseTheSnyderCut hashtag, posted a statement of their own condemning Mata's behavior and removing their support for the petition. The DCEU fandom is universal, and many are in the direct line of fire of Mata's words, the statement read. Adding to this, Zack Snyder and his films, something Mata is fond of, don't ever condone his hatefulness. On the contrary, they speak on the need for inclusion. Zack Snyder's Superman is the ultimate immigrant. When asked about Mata's post, both Cole and Nana Queen disavowed his remarks. We're not associated with that whatsoever, Cole's Queen said. None of the people who are trying to keep the movement going are associated with it either. Rowlands also said that the group distanced itself from any individual social media user using their hashtag to harass or insult others online. At the end of the day, we can't tell anyone what they can and can't do, he said. We're not an employer. What is absolutely agreed is that behavior is not condoned and something we don't do. We're constantly telling people, be polite, reply, don't move on, don't feed the troll. Similarly, the anonymously run at RT Snyder Cut Twitter account, a hub of members, posted what is described as a code of conduct, vowing to only promote positive content. The campaign was galvanized further when Snyder confirmed in March that he had completed making his own cut of the movie, a bunch of cuts, in fact. Members we spoke to confirmed reports that they plan to mount a letter writing campaign urging new Warner Brothers CEO Ann Sarnoff to make at least one of Snyder's takes on Justice League available to the public. Over the weekend, Snyder released some material that showed his original intended ending for the movie, only adding to the fan zeal. If the cut's released, which we pray it will someday, we're not going anywhere, Cole's Queen said. It's not like we'll get the cut and then stop our charity work, Nana Queen added. We're all going to carry on. That is the SyFy Wire article, which is very much a positive article and actually highlights a lot of things that has happened during the release of Snyder Cut, a whole campaign that's been going on for over 2 years, but or almost 2 years in fact, but for some reason the Twitter account does not support the movement or support the article in any case, and actually tweeted this out. Click with the article link saying important thing to note about this campaign: the Snyder Cut does not, and for all practical purposes cannot exist. Weird, very weird. Somehow some troll got a hold of the Twitter account and decided to tweet that out, even though the article contents itself is a positive and puts the movement in a positive light, and also saying that the Snyder Cut does exist. So I have no idea about that. But we will continue to reach above that negativity and try to get our positive word louder than the negativity to overcome that. And I think our Snyder Cut campaign, the Project Comic-Con, incredible work from the Project Comic-Con team. Congratulations to you guys. Thank you so much for doing all of this for the movement. But you definitely had made a lot of noise. In fact, Stephen M. Colbert had put out an article today in regards to Zack Snyder beating Warner Brothers at San Diego Comic-Con 2019 despite not being there. And he puts in a long article, which I'll link in the description below on this, because this deserves a lot more clicks and sharing for this article in itself. But I want to give you a couple things on here that are really interesting. He says, meanwhile, the Snyder Cut's Project Comic-Con campaign generated consistent attention at the convention, on social media, and in headlines. The weird thing about the whole situation is that Warner Brothers knew the Snyder Cut campaign would have a presence at Comic-Con. The campaign was very publicly organized in the months leading up to the con, starting a GoFundMe long before Warner Brothers pulled out of Hall H. They should have known that simply not showing anything would surrender the narrative to the Snyder Cut, and yet they seemingly took no effort to avert the situation. It's possible Warner's thought the Snyder Cut campaign was too small to be concerned about, but when there's a billboard, bus stop ad, airplane flyover, and more generating headlines, the true size of the Snyder Cut supporters doesn't really matter. The absence of effort from Warner Brothers to establish a counter narrative that the next big thing for DC films is in the franchise's future allowed everyone to spend the year's biggest week in pop culture talking about the studio's biggest mistake instead of its next great offering. That is an incredible paragraph there, Stephen M. Colbert. I agree completely. They really tripped on this one. They really shot their foot on this one. And for better for the Snyder Cut movement, for better for the awareness for the Snyder Cut. And I think at this point, it's in no time they would have to address this sooner or later. And if they don't, when RT Snyder Cut is ready, we will be waiting to mail out our letters to CEO and Sarnoff. So that is the next campaign. All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. I want to thank you so much for subscribing. I want to thank you so much for watching. And once again, when I reach 11,000 subscribers, I'm going to give 2 cents for every subscriber to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Thank you so much. Good night.